Welcome back to Philosophical Voyagers. I'm Dan.
And I'm Joe. And folks, today we got a great subject we're going to talk about today, Thailand's love apocalypse. But first, folks, you please like, subscribe, share, and bang that notification bell so we can get that algorithm apocalypse rolling. So, Dan, tell us about this subject here, what we have today.
Well, imagine this: a man's throat slashed open by his Thai wife's lover. His intestines spilling into a Pattaya sidewalk as flies swarm. His $2 million fortune stolen in a heartbeat. And this isn't a nightmare you wake from. It's Thailand's blood-soaked reality, happening right now. By the way, folks, I want to tell you, this is not most Thai women. This goes for certain types like bar girls, or when you're trying to get fast romance. You can find yourself in these situations if you're not careful. Joe?
Yep. So we unveil here Thailand's sprawling nationwide plague of romance. And romance is great. A lot of people, let's be honest, a lot of people come here for romance. But sometimes you can get, if you're not careful, you can get caught up in scams. And by the way, folks, you get scammed anywhere in the world, but we're focusing on Thailand today because we also live here, and a lot of people love Thailand. So scams, we can talk about all the way from Isan's muddy villages to Bangkok's happening city to the slums of Bangkok to Pattaya's brothels to Phuket's resorts, Chiang Mai, deceptively serene hills. Foreigners, expats, all walks of life come here with dreams of grandeur, to retire, to live the life, but sometimes some of the foreigners get their dreams shattered and broken. So, Dan,
That's right. Yeah, no, I'm going to warn you, folks. This video will drag into Thailand's darkest inferno, or sorry, one of Thailand's darkest infernos. Some of the stories you hear might sicken you. True stories of mutilation, theft, and murder that defy belief, and philosophical riddles so piercing they'll shred your faith in love, trust, and humanity itself.
And there's a philosophical teaser, folks, for this video. If you gaze long enough into the abyss is going to gaze you back. So
Nietzsche said that, yes.
Yes, he did. And the
Yes.
shocking facts, folks, Thai police found 70 foreigners dead at their wives' hands, stabbed, poisoned, burned. So, but insiders whisper the true count is hundreds, many believe. And again, I don't have any concrete proof that there's hundreds. There's 70 cases that we researched and we know of. So, folks, get ready as we
Well, yeah,
dive.
by the way, because some were like, somewhere their screams are silenced by jungle dirt and ocean tides. But I'll tell you, Joe, I'm a little skeptical about those suicides in Pattaya. Isn't there one club called the Pattaya Flyers Club?
Yes.
And what is that, Joe?
Well, the truth is, when you jump off the balcony of your condo or your hotel, there's been an upward trend of suicides here in Pattaya. Not too long ago, I believe in a week ago, a Japanese man was found dead. Many believe killed himself. I think we talked about that in one of our last videos. Has been, in the crime video, but there is an uptick in suicide, and unfortunately, folks, a lot of these suicides, a good portion of them, are romance driven. A call to action: strap in for the blood-drenched descent into hell. Subscribe now, folks. So, Dan, what's the first part of the video? What are we going to talk about here?
Well, Thailand's lethal lure. I mean, it's intoxicating allure. Golden temples, glittering the sun, turquoise beaches, lapping at white sand, women with soft voices, and even softer lies. Now, it draws foreigners in like moths to a flame. Now, unfortunately, a lot of these guys who get drawn in, though, they're not exactly angels themselves. They're looking for quick love, or they're cheating on their wives back in their home country or something. And so it's not like an innocent little Boy Scout but still, I still think the punishment definitely exceeds the crime.
Now, the truth is, folks, more often, look, Thailand's a great place. Like we always say, there's a lot of happy, successful, loving marriages here in Thailand, but there's a sect. Sometimes even the minority sect speaks the loudest. These stories, and a lot of them are true, about how the psychology, how these men are broken. Some of these divorcees are nursing wounds. Some of them come to Thailand chasing a second youth. Some of them they can't get a Western woman, so they're dreaming of coming here to find love. Some folks see Thailand as a salvation, blinded by existentialism and the myth of a submissive, grateful partner. But there's cultural hurdles to overcome. There's language barriers. There's Thailand has different customs, a lot of different customs than that of the Western countries, and it
Yeah.
also could cause misunderstandings in the relationship. It can also cause tension. It can cause tears, and it can cause a lot of things. So, Dan, let's just give us a shocking fact about Thailand.
Well, before that, I was going to tell you before I give you the shocking fact. Let's say two quick smiles and sudden tears, and the endless request for cash. Well, it's lust and desperation mute the warning screams, and they say you can't see the red flags when you have on rosy red glasses.
Over 25,000 foreigners marry Thai women annually, and a lot of times though, every year you at least hear in the news a couple times a year, maybe I don't know how many times a year, but about maybe a foreigner committing suicide. You hear about how some people even vanish. There's also scams there, but there's police logs and hints of dozens of foreigners found dead, some in ditches, some their passports are buried into ash. And again, there's no estimate. There's an unofficial estimate that says that many of the missing foreigners can go. I don't know if this number is necessarily true, Dan. It's unofficial. I wouldn't say thousands, but I would say maybe high single digits, maybe hundreds if lucky, because the foreign community here, I believe in Thailand. I don't know how many million are here, but again, I believe most have successful marriages or successful relationships. But there's that sect that gets, that has
Yeah.
doesn't have it.
Right. And also depends where you meet the woman that you want to marry. I'm sorry, but if you meet her in a bar, if you meet a bar girl reeking a cheap perfume or a village daughter with hungry eyes or a so-called socialite in Bangkok dripping in fake Chanel with backgrounds unchecked and motives unexamined, uh, it often leads to bad things. I mean, it leads down really dark paths. Now, unfortunate, but there are good places to meet a good woman too, and it also depends what you're looking for.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, Dan, tell us about this horrific true story we heard about this German gentleman named Hans.
Well, like all those other foreigners who signed over condos, houses, and their savings, a 62-year-old retiree named Hans arrived in Pattaya in 2019 dreaming of a quiet life. He met Nong, a 28-year-old bar girl with a practiced giggle, an obvious fake laugh, in a seedy go-go bar. Gee, I wonder what would happen there. Within 6 months, he married her. He bought her a condo worth 150,000 US. He put it in her name. And from his life savings from decades as a mechanic back in Germany. And one night in 2020, her Thai boyfriend, tattooed thug named Lake. He ambushed Han's house at 7-Eleven, slashed Han's skull with a rusty pipe, blood and brains splattered the pavement, and a passerby stepped over him. Hans's body rotted on a roadside ditch for 3 days before police found it. Maggots already feasting. Nong sold the condo within a week and vanished with Lake, laughing all the way to a new life. So the philosophical reflection from Immanuel Kant, he demanded that we treat others as ends, not means. Moral purity in a rational world. But when your wife's lover caves in your skull for a condo, when your blood pools under her indifferent feet, is morality a cruel joke? Are these foreigners complicit, offering their necks to the blade? Or are they lambs in a slaughterhouse where ethics never existed? If love means to murder, what's left of the human soul?
Well, that leads us to scams that gut. Foreigners, folks, can't own land. I mean, you can own condos, and there is, again, that's a whole other video. You can't own land if you want to buy a house. There is loopholes, but technically, by the book, foreigners can't own land. That's another video. So they register their homes a lot of the times and condos in their wife's name, but lost in divorce or death. As we're talking about Phuket's luxury market, see like Phuket, we see a lot of foreigners buy condos there. we see a lot of millionaires go there and they get gutted, their savings gets gutted, and the retiree and they lose their savings due to what? Scams or relationships where the woman has another Thai boyfriend. And what happens is they get once they're drained of the money, like you just told the story there a few minutes ago, the girl and the excuse the phone in the background, folks. But the girl and the guy take off and leaving the foreigner hanging broke.
Oh, yeah. Not even, yeah. So many stories like that.
Excuse me. Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead. In fact, there was one story I heard years ago about a man who met a lady. I think it was at a bar, surprise, surprise. But then he went to meet her family in upcountry. And when he was there upcountry, they all approved of him. Well, he set up a house to buy. And the girl's brother really loved him, but he wondered why they couldn't stay together in the same house when they were. And the parents said, "Oh, they said very conservative, not married." So she stayed at her brother's house. Well, lo and behold, the day that they're supposed to get married, the girl's brother walks up to the man at what's supposed to be his wedding and says, "You can go now." He says, "What do you mean I can go? This is my wedding." He says, "But it's my wife." He pretended to be her brother, not her husband, for a while so they could get everything from him, and he was left loveless and destitute. But it gets worse, though. Okay, like everywhere else in the world, this is a poverty thing. Some marry people from developed countries for strong passports, Western passports, but some do a lot worse. Some want kids so they'll look beautiful and they can be sold for trafficking. Yeah. Some actually have the intent to give birth to a child that will look good and can be sold into human trafficking.
Well, again, I look at the bar girl scene, particularly in Pattaya. And again, I'll admit, years ago, I hung around it. I'm not going to lie to the viewers, not now, but I've had friends of mine with some endless stories of some tragedy. Now, thank God they didn't end in like murder. It was mostly financial scamming or stabbing. There was one time I saw two Thai girls fighting over a foreign man. It was over about 20,000 allegedly. I don't know these. I think it was over $20,000 where she said, "Nah, he was mine. Don't touch him." And they end up getting, there was a violent, it had to be broken up. So you see all sorts of psychological things happen because, like you said, remember, these girls come from, a lot of them, abject poverty. They didn't have the opportunities that a lot of us in the West have. Now, again, I'm not blanking that as an excuse.
Right.
But if there's no excuse, you should have good morals and ethics. So
yeah, Joe, I want to tell you, the ones I listen to the most when they say it's no excuse are people who are from that same level of poverty, who are from that, maybe even that same village, and say, "Nope, I'm from that same level of poverty. I grew up just like they did, and it's not okay what they did." Those are the people I listen to the most who don't justify it.
So again, you have to, when you come here, folks, keep your mind alert. Don't let your senses dull. The sharpest mind, education comes in many shapes and forms. You may have a formal education, but even that formal education can be slaughtered by a PhD in the streets.
That's right.
So, what about a case study of this Bangkok's $250 million heist?
Bangkok's 250. Wow. I don't know about that one. Tell me about it, Joe.
Well, there's a 45-year-old CFO at Escort, Thailand. He fell basically for a fake scam, I believe. Dr. Andy, he's noted on LinkedIn in 2022, was promised love and riches. So this woman, or he was promising this woman, love and riches. So, okay, she was a woman. Her name was Chiacom, I think, if I pronounced that corrected. It happens to women too, folks, not just men. This man known as Dr. Andy, he had a profile on LinkedIn. He was promising her the world, basically. He basically told her he was a lawyer. So she flew to Malaysia, met this alleged lawyer, and saw a suitcase of cash, enough to blind her. And now this $250 million, let me emphasize, is probably bought, not U.S. cash. So she siphoned $250 million from the company to 112 accounts across 17 countries, only to eventually learn Andy was a ghost. She was arrested in 2023. She faced 20 years in a Bangkok prison. Her career, family, and sanity were all shattered. So
Yeah.
she was sending this money to a man that never, quite frankly, never existed, or somebody was using this fake identity. Dan, tell us about case study number 2.
Excuse me. Mark, a 48-year-old British engineer, met Ploy, a 29-year-old Bangkok office worker, in 2019. She drained $500,000 US from him with tales of a dying sister. Yeah, those are common. In 2021, she staged a car crash to claim his insurance, but her lover, a Thai thug named Chai, cut off Mark's arm with a machete in a dark alley. Mark survived, bleeding in the gutter. His arm was found later in a dumpster. Ploy fled with the cash, and Chai's still at large. By the way, Michel Foucault saw power as a game of domination, pervasive and brutal. When a wife watches her husband choke on poison for a villa, when friends knife each other over a farang's wallet, is love just a sadist playground? Are these women rebels against a world that starves them, or predators in a global arena where the weak devour the strong? If affection is a weapon, what's left of us but blood and bones?
Well, we have another thing here, Dan, is a 60-year-old Australian widow met a scammer posing as an oil tycoon online in 2020. He lured her to Patty with promises of marriage. She sent 5.5 million baht, which is about equivalent to 163 Australian dollars, over 18 months, meeting a fake World Bank rep who showed her forged contracts. Her kids cut her off. She's now homeless as of late 2020, 2021, salvaging patio streets. Her savings went from dawn to dust.
Wow, I never heard of. Oh, I've heard stories like it, but usually the romance scams. I've heard romance scams like this. But it doesn't sound right. Her kids just cut her off. It doesn't sound right.
Well,
Yeah,
again, some of these stories we get sent to us. Look, some of the facts are hard to verify, but I've heard. I've been coming to Thailand for a long, long time. So it happened to a friend of mine that his kids cut him off, and he didn't really get scammed though. But still, they found out he was dating a Thai lady. He did build her a house. They broke up. Long story short, the kid, because his first wife had died of cancer. The kids didn't like it. They cut him off. He did get scammed out of some money, but luckily the guy recovered. Super wealthy guy. He's back in Europe with his family now. So that story had a happy ending with his kids in Australia, and they relocated to somewhere in Europe outside of Australia. But Thailand can be a predator nation if you don't watch yourself. It could be a very predatory nation. Meaning, now there's scams everywhere in the world. America has scams. England has scams. But for some reason, Southeast Asia, particularly Thailand, seems to draw a lot. And Thailand has an economic schism. Bangkok's glittering skyscrapers. You see that and you're like, wow. How can this be considered a third world country? But there's also massive pockets, massive areas of slum areas, massive poverty. The Patty's sex trade thrives on pockets of desperation.
That's right.
So Chiang Mai has quiet beauty, but it also has its own issues. Same thing with Phuket's elite. A lot of Phuket's elite prey on wealth. From Isan's mud huts to Hua Hin's golf courses, every region breeds its own kind of issues. And some would say, in some issues, specific kinds of slaughter. What about jealousy bloodbath, Dan?
Okay, some women flaunt Farang-funded spoils such as yachts docked in Phuket, penthouses in Bangkok, private islands off of Krabi. She got a private island. I'll get a plane, one vowed, while slipping fentanyl in her husband's whiskey. In Pattaya, a bar girl named Fawn beat her sister unconscious with a bottle over a $20,000 Farang pouch, screaming, "His gold is mine." I think that might have been the story you told me earlier.
But there was one similar, and it was allegedly 20,000. I didn't know the price exactly, but leave, don't touch him, he's mine. And it was broken up. It got extremely violent. So this might be similar story but different. Thailand's scam industry many say rakes in 15 billion yearly. Experts say murders conceal half the profits, with bodies being dumped in canals, jungles, coastal caves, eaten by fish or ants. Now, look, to be fair, is there an exact number on that? I don't know, because to be fair, Thailand's a relatively safe country if you don't get involved in none of this stuff,
Yeah.
folks. So let me just say,
Yeah.
let me just put that out there. We're talking about extreme cases and extreme circumstances. And what about this story, Dan? Tom, a 65-year-old American retiree, moved to Chiang Mai in 2017. He was
Charmed, yes. Charmed.
charmed by, what's her name?
Dow. Dow.
Dow.
He's
Yes.
Star.
Charmed by Dow. She was a 35-year-old market vendor with a shy smile. He married her and handed her over 1 million for a sprawling estate, all in her name. For 2 years, she fed him rat poison in his morning coffee. His skin yellowed, his stomach bled, his screams echoed throughout the house. In 2019, his kids found his bloated corpse in a rice paddy with a bunch of flies on it, buzzing in his open mouth. Dow's sold the estate, bought her lover a nightclub, and toasted Tom's death with champagne. And folks, you're probably thinking these stories can happen. Yes, they happen everywhere in the world. But again, we're talking about Thailand. And again, know your environment, watch who you hang out with. Overall, Thailand's a very safe country. But when it comes to romance and love, and people can't handle that, and when people get greedy, you don't know what goes on in people's heads.
Yeah.
What's the philosophical reflection, Dan?
Well, this is a philosophy from Santa Claus. I mean Karl Marx. Whoops, I always get the two confused. Karl Marx saw capitalism as a meat grinder, grinding down the weak. When a wife poisons her husband for a nightclub, is she a victim clawing out of poverty's jaws, or a butcher thriving in its blood? If love is a commodity, are we all just corpses waiting to be cashed out? Our hearts priced by the pound.
Now, let's talk about the global meat market. Thailand, many say, there's been a linchpin from people coming all over the world to Southeast Asia. It's been known for a while as a scam empire. Over 120,000 trafficked into Myanmar and Cambodia. Scam compounds in these compounds popped up there alone. Many snared by Thai romance traps that started with a smile and ended in chains. Dan, give us what's the shocking fact about this?
All right. Asia lost 40 billion to scams in 2023. I mean, the entire continent of Asia? I don't know. But Thailand's love scams may account for a third. I'm skeptical of that too. With bodies piling up as collateral. Yeah, that part's more likely. A 2024 UN report warns Thailand's trafficking deaths outpace Cambodia's. All right, to be fair, Thailand has a much higher population than Cambodia. But here's a horrific true story. Wang Xing, a 31-year-old Chinese actor, arrived in Bangkok in 2022, lured by a film producer girlfriend he met online. She drugged his beer at a Sukhumvit bar. He woke up in a Myanmar scam den. Beaten daily, his kidney slated for sale. His girlfriend's viral campaign freed him after 6 months. 1,800 others remain, their organs harvested, their screams unheard.
Now, they were talking about a trafficking nexus, as many believe, near the border of Laos and Cambodia. It's like a triangle, I believe, Dan. I believe this border area.
Yeah. The Golden Triangle, yeah.
And some says it funnels victims to scam lords. Thai wives often play scouts, luring phalangs to rural traps where gangs wait. Some gangs with knives, some with zip ties. And again, folks, I have to emphasize, most relationships are good. These are just the extreme. So we don't want you. We want you to tell you, Thailand is great overall. The philosophical reflection: Albert Camus saw life as an absurd fight against meaninglessness. When you love her, yeah. When you punchline. Now, again, it just goes to show you how some people will do anything for love, anything for acceptance, even to the point where it can cost them massive amounts of money. In some cases, cause them to be permanently psychologically damaged, cost their life. And also, Dan is a new horror. There's some new unseen
Yeah.
atrocities. And what about, Dan? Tell us about organ harvesting.
Well, this is old. This is not a new scam. This is a very old scam. I was warned about it over 22 years ago. Sometimes unwitting people can be lured somewhere. They're drugged, but next thing you know, they wake up in a bathtub of ice, and they had an operation they definitely didn't ask for, like a missing kidney, and it's sold in the black market. And-
That would happen
yeah,
in Mexico too. Sometimes it's funny. I used to hear that when I was living in San Diego.
Yeah. In fact, here's a horrific story. Eric, a 52-year-old Swede, moved to Hua Hin in 2021. Seduced by Gintana, a 30-year-old yoga instructor with a serene facade. She convinced him to join a healing ritual in a rural temple. But she drugged him with spiked tea, and he woke up in a shack, a kidney gone, and 200,000 US dollars in savings emptied. Gintana sold his organ to a cartel. Now he's on dialysis, bankrupt, and alone.
Wow. Wow. That's something. I can't imagine when a wife trade, philosophical reflection, when your wife trades flesh for cash, how low and how cruel some people will go.
Yeah, it says, as Arthur Schopenhauer said, Arthur Schopenhauer saw life as a blind will to suffer. When your wife trades your flesh for cash, when you wake to a gaping wound, is love just pain's cruel engine? Are we slaves to a will that eats us alive?
Now, there have been some stories of love triangles. Thai ex-lovers and wives form. Believe it or not, some foreigners have been caught in death squads, and some foreigners even had their body parts butchered.
Yeah.
Police estimated 30% of the Falangs that have been murdered. Many believe in 2023, 60 Falangs were involved in love triangles that caused stabbings in patio alleys, burnings in Isan fields, and drownings off Phuket shores. Dan, there's a horrific story, Dan, of a 50-year-old Italian chef. He married, how do I pronounce her name here?
I think Ruggiera,
a 27-year-old hairdresser in 2020. In 2022, her ex, a burly farmer named Somchai, this gentleman's name, Giuseppe, apart with a machete, his torso dumped in a forest, legs fed to the pigs, and his supposed loving wife split his $400,000 savings with her ex, and they were laughing as pigs squirreled. Kevin, a 45-year-old British teacher in Ubon Ratchathani, had Samurai in 2008.
Yeah.
Close enough. In 2018, they got married, and in 2021, her lover doused Kevin, the British foreigner, in petrol and lit him ablaze. And his $1 million inheritance fueled their new villa. Kevin's charged screams woke neighbors, and his supposed loving wife watched from the porch. So, what does Thomas Hobbes say, Dan?
Thomas Hobbes saw life as nasty, brutish, and short, a war of all against all. When your wife's ex burns you alive, when your wife's ex burns you alive, when your ashes fund their love nest, is love just war's bloodiest front? Are we born to kill or be killed?
Well, high society's hidden knives. The theme here in this particular portion of the video, Bangkok's rich and Phuket's elite prey on wealthy expats with surgical precision. And the shocking fact, in 2023, in a 2023 sting, had 5 Thais.
Yeah, 5 Thai heiresses scammed $10 million either dollars or bought from Farangs. 2 victims were found floating the Chao Phraya River, throat slit, wallets empty. Yeah?
Wow. James, a 70-year-old Australian tycoon, moved to Bangkok in 2019. Wooed by
Pontip,
a 40-year-old socialite dripping in diamonds. She drowned him in their infinity pool. In 2022, his $3 million estate bought her a private jet. Divers found his body tangled in pool lights, eyes wide in terror. The philosophical reflection, Dan, what is it?
Hannah Arendt saw evil as banal every day. When an heiress drowns you for A jet, when your death is just another spa day, is betrayal the ultimate luxury? Do the rich kill because they can? And I'm not so sure she was a real socialite. I'd say more like she was a gold digger who'd hustled other people, other chumps, got their money, and looked like a socialite. I don't think she was from high society.
Well, outrunning the Reaper. How do you survive? Again, I want to emphasize this, folks. Thailand is an incredible place. There's a lot more good and bad. We've said that in past videos. But we just want to tell you there are horror stories, just like everywhere on Earth. So, vet your partner. I know some guys, and right or wrong, I'm not going to debate it. They hired private investigators. Vet your partner like a CIA operative, some would say, particularly bar girls, elite, socialites. Prenups, and there is Thai that law firms where you can get it, or Thai law, if you don't know it, can strip you naked. Understand Thai law. If you own a condo, understand what you're signing. Make sure the real estate company is legitimate. Make sure the lawyer has your best interest at heart. Protect yourself. Cut cash flow. Matter of fact, like I said, when I tell fellow veterans, don't tell people about your pension, how much you get a month. Be humble. Stay low. Dan, will give us a shocking fact?
A Dutchman lost $1.5 million in Phuket. His wife, now this part I'm skeptical about. His wife supposedly hired a monk to curse him into leaping off a cliff. His smashed body washed ashore, her laughter echoing. Yeah, I'm skeptical about the curse part, but do I think he was probably pushed off?
Here's some public. Here's a public service announcement from Philosophical Voyagers. First Police, number 115. Let me say it again. First Police, 115. I mean, 115. 1155. Let me repeat that again. Anti-Online Scam Center, 1441. Let me say that again. Anti-Online Scam Center, 1441. Siam Legal, trust no one, not even yourself. Dan, what's the reflection?
All right. Seneca urged people to face death daily. In Thailand, you must sleep with a gun, tasting every meal for poison? No. No, it is. I've never owned a gun. I'm not against guns, by the way, but I've never owned one in Thailand or America. It's just not my thing. And no, I don't test every meal for poison. No, and me personally, I don't date those kind of women. I'm hyper vigilant, if that makes sense. So I look for inconsistencies. But now, do you think shame buries the toll? Like countless victims vanish and their fates unspoken, Joe?
I think some, but I don't. Again, I want to emphasize again. Overall, this country is extremely safe, folks.
Yeah, it is.
We're reading you stories. Look, just like anywhere on the planet, every place in the world, there is some kind of scam, some kind of victim. They happen in America all the time, and they still happen here in Thailand. You still have to be careful. So now, do countless victims vanish? Countless, I don't know. I wouldn't say that, because if it was countless, believe me, tourism, Thailand's one of the most visited countries on the planet.
Thank you.
So, shocking facts. 90% of scam victims never reported. It is a high percentage, I'll say that. And there's minor scams that probably never get reported. Hundreds riot in jungles, their homes picked. Some,
but it's a rarity. And folks, look, Thailand is far less dangerous than what you'd see in America. In fact, what you got to look out for are scams, manipulation. That's what you have to look out for more than anything else. But I'm not worried when I walk down the street, someone's going to whip out a gun and rob me. I'm not worried I'm just going to get randomly beat.
I've walked all over Thailand at all hours of the night, and nothing, never felt unsafe. Now, there are some tragic tales and horrific stories, like the one I'm going to share with you here. Paul was a 55-year-old Canadian in Krabi. He lost $800,000 to his wife's gang in 2021. They buried him alive in a cave. His claw marks scarred the dirt when hikers found him months later. Ours, a 60-year-old Dane in Pattaya, was hacked apart in 2020. His $2 million gone. Him sold to medical brokers. His head washed up on Jomtien Beach. And again, Folks, understand your environment, understand who you're getting. Because, like I said, as a world traveler and you travel, and I've said this like a broken record, Southeast Asia draws all kind of people.
It does.
And
It
you have
does.
to really vet, especially if you're going to get in a relationship, really vet the person, vet them. And that goes for not just Thailand, anywhere. Dan, what's the philosophical reflection?
Martin Heidegger saw being as a dance with death. In Thailand, love is that dance. Each kiss is a step to the gallows. Each vow to a blade edge. Nah, I don't share his view. But here's a question: are we alive or just meat awaiting for the butcher's laugh? No, I don't share that philosophy. If I felt that way in Thailand, I wouldn't live here.
Right.
If I thought most Thai women were like that, I wouldn't live here.
There is a small sect of scams in Thailand, and they do get a lot of publicity. It can make Thailand seem like a scam empire, even though most of Thailand is lovely. Almost 99% of the people are great. But the minority speaks very loudly. You hear about the murder, the theft, the organ body part sale that spans in many provinces. It can. Some people would think it's if you hear these stories, it's like a relentless machine of death. A Dutchman's wife slit her husband's throat in Pattaya, sold his $2 million estate, then wed his brother, draining him dry in a year. So what does that tell you? There's some whacked out stuff in the world.
Oh yeah, there sure is. But like I said, we've also talked about all the bad foreigners who come here.
Absolutely.
And sometimes it's a bad foreigner and a bad Thai who hook up. That's been a lot. Yeah, it's been the case quite.
And again, folks, we try to source this stuff out for you. Sometimes folks send us stories, and our producers send us these stories. Now, there are some people I know that have experienced had similar stories. Thank God they weren't murdered or chopped up, but they had devastating financial loss. They went to depression and isolation. I know one. I know a couple. One I believe died of a literal broken heart. So,
Oh yeah,
the vast majority of people I hang out with love it here. But again, there is horrors here. There is a dark side. You ever hear the saying, Dan? We all have skeletons in our closet.
of course.
Every nation has skeletons in its closet. There's pockets of scams everywhere. There's similar stories that are going on all over the world, even in some of the safest countries on Earth. Dan, anything else to add?
Well, all I'll say is I knew about these kind of scams happening even 21 years ago, the first time I lived here. And I did try to warn people about it, but then they saw me as just a 25-year-old kid, so they didn't really listen to me. But I understand. But that's something that hasn't changed. The point is,
Yeah.
the scams have remained the same, and I hope people will learn. I mean, I'd be naive to think that the scams will stop. They never will. They'll invent new one. But hey, otherwise, folks, though, I don't want to discourage you from coming to Thailand.
No,
I just want to warn you
not at
that-
all. This is a safe country. 99.99% of the Thai people are some of the most loving, kindest people on earth. Again, definitely don't want to discourage you coming here, but just to show you, every country has an underbelly, just about. Every person, just like every person has demons, deals with demons in their life, or has a skeleton in their closet. So does most, probably every country on earth, even the greatest ones. So Dan, with that being said, go ahead. Do you have something else to say?
Nope. Other than do you have anything else to say, Joe?
No, that's it for me. I hope people enjoy this video. Some of them are a little long, but again, we want to give you some thought-provoking content. And again, we're probably not the best speakers or the best, but as we go on,
Not yet.
we're gonna work our way there.
Yeah. All right, folks. So please remember, like, subscribe, share, hit the notification bell.
Share with your family and friends, and wherever you're out in the world, have a great day, great evening. Take care.